Hello, my name is Chris, and today we're going to learn about this fun little tool called Truecrypt. It is something that I like to employ when I am dealing with sensitive information on a thumb drive that is moving from point A to point B, that if lost, I don't really mind losing, other than the thumb drive, because it is encrypted. And what that means is that that data on that thumb drive is secure to where the person who possibly might pick it up doesn't know the password to access the thing that has actually locked it. So first, we're actually going to go a little bit backwards. We're going to show you how to access the encrypted thumb drive. Now, first, you'll want to open up the removable device. Usually the thumb drive, USB drive, flash drive, whatever you want to call it. This will run on anything, and I will actually be covering that later in the video. We will want to double click into this. So first things first, what I usually do is I have a folder called Stuff, and it typically has the Truecrypt program, and it usually also has the user guide. However, I'm pretty familiar with it. I don't usually read it, but if this is a thumb drive I've made for you, you might want to read it. It's fairly technical, but not required, but pretty cool also if you can read it and figure out all the stuff that it does. Truecrypt is pretty useful outside of thumb drives as well, but today we're just going to be covering thumb drives. So, for example, we have these 3 documents that we do not want to fall into somebody else's hands. So we're going to move it into this encrypted thumb drive. So the way I have it set up is I have this one stuff.gsd file that I want to move it into. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the stuff file, go ahead and start up Truecrypt. Yes. We're going to want to pick a drive letter that isn't being used. Typically this will list the ones that are not in use. I usually choose something around the middle, because if Windows is filling these with things, it will typically be either on the high end, which is the stuff that you don't see, which is A through whatever. And then if you're mapping drives yourself, it will be on the low end, like Z, X, and Y. That was backwards. Z, Y, and X. Yes. So I usually choose something like Q. So what we want to do is we want to select that file we were talking about earlier, the stuff.gsd. So back in this Truecrypt program, we are going to go select file. It will open up another window that will open up in the last one we just saw. We will go back to the removable device. You can either click here or the back button. Because we hadn't been there previously, I usually just like to click on the removable device. Then we will choose the stuff.gsd file. We'll go open, and then we will say mount, and it will ask for the password that was associated with this file. Now, if this is one I've provided with you, I will have it as something like a text document. It will say new text document, and it will have the whatever password that I generated for you. Well, alright. Good. So, in this case, password, just because this is a test thing that I threw together and not the file that you are using, it is password with an uppercase P. And we go, just to make sure, we say display password, we click on that. That is wrong. I have cap locks on. It is a good thing to check. Okay. It is now mounted. So what has happened, it has taken this file and it has made it into a virtual drive. What that means is it has created a CD drive that is just this folder that is locked. So now we can go down and it will say, hey, there's a removable drive in the queue space, and it's empty. That's weird. So working out of the Truecrypt system again, we're going to want to open this up. We can either go open, which opens this, or we can even go down to the start computer, and then we can go down to the Q drive and open that up. So what we want to do is we actually want to move these files we don't want to people to get their hands on, and we want to move them into the stuff encrypted file so people can't get a hold of them. So really it's incredibly easy as just dragging and dropping or copying and pasting, either way, to the queue location where this stuff file is mounted. Now you can either drag and drop like I just did, or you can select all of these and go copy and paste. Both work just fine. Same thing happens. So now we're actually going to cut and paste so these go away. Overwrite them again. So now we just have the stuff and the stuff.gsd file. Once again, if you're curious how to get into it, we can open up this Truecrypt program again. We'll even close out of it if you are unsure as to where it has gone. We'll go Truecrypt, yes, and it will still have it mounted. Important note, if you want to unplug your thumb drive, you will want to unmount this, and we will go through that in a moment. So say we want to access this again, we can either go to the start menu, which is this little button, go to the computer and go to the Q drive, which is where it is mounted. Notice the Q letter. Open it up, and all of these documents should still be in here. So once again, we can go open, it'll open it right up. So say we are done with whatever we are doing, and we want to unplug the thumb drive. From this point, I would suggest not just unplugging it, because you still have that file mounted. Usually bad stuff happens when you unplug the thumb drive when things are still mounted in Truecrypt. So what I like to do is I like to select it so that it is blue, and I go dismount, which is in the same location as that mount button we saw before. We go dismount, that should disappear. It should disappear in the list of drives down the side underneath my computer, or computer, depending if you're using Windows 7 or Windows XP still. What I then like to do is exit out of this, and so if you go back to your removable device, you should only see the stuff.gsd file as well as the stuff folder with the truecrypt.exe. So now we're going to go through and just do a quick rundown review of how to open, mount, and access those files again really quickly. So what you want to do is you want to open truecrypt.exe. Yes. We want to select the file that will open a window. We want to click on the removable device and select the stuff.gsd. We'll go open, and it should then open it under here, under the list. I usually leave this all default, and then we go mount, and you need to enter the password. The fortunate thing is my password for this test is password, uppercase P, and then we go OK, and it is now mounted. So it should be under the Q disk over here, or you can even go, we want to open it. and that's a right click and then open. And look at that, there's all of our awesome bank statements and passwords. So to dismount it, and the first thing we want to make sure is that we're not unplugging it. We are doing this first. We are selecting it so that it is blue or highlighted, and we will click dismount. That will make it disappear from the drive system down here on the side. Notice there is no more Q drive here. So that is the quick run through of how to use Truecrypt if I have set it up on your thumb drive. Now, if that is all you need, feel free and exit out of this video. We are now going to go through how to set up a new thumb drive with Truecrypt, and I am actually going to be removing these things from Truecrypt itself from the thumb drive we just set up. So first place I'm going to want to go is I usually go Google, and I will type in Truecrypt right there, second one down, and that will lead me to truecrypt.org. And this is a fairly good website full of information about this program. They are the guys who made it. I usually go to downloads, and we will choose which one we like. I usually choose the exe package. That is for anything that is Microsoft. If you have a Mac, you will want to go to download the .dmg package. You can even check the signatures to make sure the file is legitimate with what you have. If you know all about that, that is awesome. Why am I even talking to you about this? You probably already know about it. That's totally fine if you are still watching this. Linux, that is an entirely different thing that you would be choosing. And then the tar.gz tarball. So we'll go ahead and download it because this is a Windows machine. We will hit download. It will show up down here at the bottom. We'll go ahead and wait for it to finish, and then we will run it. Go, yes, we want to run it really. We will accept the license terms after reading through it really quickly. I am amazing. We will hit next and then extract it. This is if you want to have it just running on that thumb drive. I usually tell it to extract to that thumb drive. I have only really used this on thumb drives. This works just fine and just as well on individual hard drives, like the hard drive that is in your machine right now, or an external hard drive. But if that is the case, I still usually choose the extract option just because it's a little bit easier, in my opinion, to deal with. I go next, portable mode. I've had issues where the driver that it provides for on-the-fly encryption decryption doesn't work on certain Macs or older versions of Windows computers, such as Windows XP or Windows 2000. Windows XP used to not be an issue until it was dropped just recently this past month. Yes, we know about all of this. It is you need to have the user account control, UAC, set up so that you are set up as the administrator. Otherwise, you will not be able to do this. If you are a normal user, you will need to get onto a computer that is set up so that you have access to the admin user. Fortunately, I am the admin on my computer, so I do actually want to extract the files. We go yes, and we want to choose which one we extract it to. I will go and we will choose this removable device that we talked about previously. We will go OK, and it will extract. It does its thing. We hit OK again. If you really love it to death, go ahead and donate to them. I've donated once. They are super duper. I've used them a lot. With secure transfers of information from point A to point B, we go finish if we want to get out of this window. And I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this website in the back. Something else, what I usually do when I'm setting this up for users is I will select these system files as well as the format and the license, and I will hide them. So I go to Properties, and I go hidden. And we go apply, and ta-da, they disappear. However, if you are set up to view hidden files, such as on my Windows 7 machine, I can go organize, folders and search items, view, and we go down to show hidden files, folders, and drives, and hit apply. You will suddenly be able to see all of these hidden files that I just made hidden. Not a big issue. Most users on most machines will have it set as the default for not showing the hidden files. That is just a safety mode that Windows use, so users can't go in and change files that Windows doesn't want you to change. So if right now we are in the main window of the removable device, so if I were to set this up for a client, something I like to do is we'll name the folder stuff, and we go ahead and select all of these things and we move them into the folder named stuff. So from here we are going to go ahead and make the encrypted file in which all of the other files that we have in that removable device will be moved to. So to do that, we will go ahead and open up Truecrypt. We go yes. Once again, I like to choose one of the things in the middle. We'll go ahead and choose Q, just because that was something that worked before. And we want to tell it to create a volume. What I like to do is create an encrypted file container. This is the easiest thing to do. All of these other things require that you encrypt an entire thumb drive or hard drive. I would not recommend them. This is the easiest thing. Unless you wanted to be even more secure and just encrypt the entire thumb drive and run Truecrypt locally on that machine, so that when you plugged in that thumb drive, you would run Truecrypt and unencrypt the entire thumb drive rather than just that file. So once again, we just want to go the easy route, create an encrypted file container. We go next. We like the standard Truecrypt volume. It's super duper easy. We also go next. If you wanted to choose a hidden Truecrypt volume, what you would do is it would essentially make like one of these. Is if you were a normal user, you wouldn't see them. So abnormal users, feel free to choose this. I am abnormal. It is awesome. We will go next into the standard Truecrypt volume. And this will actually ask you to select a file. I always say never saved history. It's a default. I like making my own file rather than telling it to save as a separate file. So for this one, the standard once again is just making a stuff file. I like adding the last couple letters of whatever, so we will make this one HTZ. I'm pretty sure that's not a file extension for anything that is on my machine. One of the things you will want to make sure and avoid is .exe files or any other file extensions that might be used on your computer for another program, such as JPEG, JPG, or .png. However, you can also use those, just because they will then, if somebody else got a hold of your thumb drive, they would look like just a really big image file that when they try and open, it doesn't open correctly on their machine, and they will assume it is corrupt and they will delete it. That's good for security reasons. I like making mine straightforward so that if a user gets a hold of it in that same company and doesn't know what they were doing, they will typically leave it alone and not delete it. So I like making it just a random file type for the dot whatever. It's usually 3 or 4 or 5 depending on the program. So we will type in our name, go ahead and click next. For the best encryption, I like AES Twofish Serpent. For standard encryption, by the default it is AES and RIP EMD160. Something I like doing as well for the hash algorithm is SHA-512. That is one of my favorites. I just like it. So for example, we're going to make this one a little bit abnormal, and we will make it a Serpent AES. We'll go ahead and test them. Woo! We will go ahead and auto test all of them. Self-tests, good, good. And we will go next. Next is how much size we want to, how big we want to make this little encrypted file into. I usually tell it, well, for this one it's 2.88 gigs. Depending on how much storage they're going to be using, I'll usually choose anywhere from 500 megs to about the majority of the space of the drive, which is, we'll go 1.5. It really doesn't like the point, so we'll actually make that just 1 gig. If you wanted to make it bigger, we would go ahead and make it into megabytes, which would be 1500, and we will go next. Now is where we enter the password. I like telling it to display the password just so we make sure we're not in cap locks or hitting any extra keys. Once again, I like using this as the default test password. This isn't the password you need to use. This is the one that I just choose to use as an example because it's super easy. You can make it as long, as big as you want. It recommends that you make it a huge long sentence, like password is awesome, sure. Horrible mistypes, that's fine. Or you can make it, you know, something hopefully not too obvious. Whatever you want to use. Really, just having a password on it will dissuade most people from accessing your file. They will say, what is this? And they will delete it. We will go ahead and hit the next button once that's all set up. Yes, short words are easy to crack. Really, but when in the real life are you going to run into somebody brute forcing your thumb drive to get into maybe some pictures of cats? Who knows what you're encrypting? And we are sure we want to use a password because this is a test one. This is fun. I like this, what they set up. They just ask you to move your mouse around. The longer you move it around, the better it encrypts for the random pool. This is truly the encryption format. It goes out actually way past my monitor. That's why they have the ... out here. I like moving it around for a while. The file system really doesn't matter unless you're going to be interchangeably using this between a Mac system and a Windows system. The FAT drive is pretty universal. Let's see, what else options do we have? NTFS. I would only suggest using this if you're going to be using it on just a Windows machine. That's something I like using, but FAT is very universal. Cluster I usually use as default. Occasionally I will like using it as dynamic. I don't normally though, and once again it will give you that pop-up. You can pause it now if you want to read through all of that. I usually don't. Once that's all done, we go format. It will create the correct encryption hashes for that file. And we just need to go ahead and wait for that to finish because I was actually in there moving around my mouse rather a bit much. We just need to wait for it to finish thinking. Usually it doesn't take any more than a few minutes. Alright, Truecrypt volume has been successfully created. We go OK. Usually I don't create more than one at a time. We are going to go ahead and hit exit. If you have another thumb drive, you can go ahead and click next to create the next one. So from here on out, we will be going through the basics like we covered at the beginning of the video, and we will be mounting one of these stuff files. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. What I like to do is move them outside of the stuff folder, outside of it, and they can mingle with other various files such as cat photos, whatever documents. The more documents that they blend into, usually the better. Usually just this right here is a dead giveaway for anybody who knows this program or any sort of encryption program they'll know to run. This program, it'll lead to something, it'll ask to do something, you want to select that one file, and then from there you don't have much choice. So the more files in the thumb drive, usually the better it is camouflaged. So once again, just to reiterate, throughout this whole entire recording process, we will go through how to mount and use this encrypted volume we just created. We will want to select this file. It is under removable device. We will select one of these. I will go with the smaller one. We will go open, and we want to mount it as Q. Once again, I just like it because it works. It's in the dead center almost. We will hit the mount button. We will want to type in the password. My password is always pretty easy. This isn't the one I actually use on my computer. It is just a test password to show you that there is a password there. And there we go. And if we wanted to open it up, we will hit open. It will open up another one with empty stuff. Say we wanted to move the user guide because it has information into this. We will move it into there. It will copy it over. It is no longer outside of it. Right, because we totally deleted it. Right. Now, say we want to move this to another computer, we will go ahead and click on the Q drive, and we will tell it to, we can either dismount this way by right-clicking, or we will select it and hit the dismount button down at the bottom. And there you go. No more Q drive. That should just be disappeared at this point. But we still have the removable device with the stuff that we can open. Yes, we can go ahead, select the file in the removable device. We will mount. Password is password. We will open it, and ta-da! There's your file. Alright, once again, I am Chris. This has been a fairly quick tutorial walkthrough of how Truecrypt does its thing and how I like running it. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Thanks, and thanks for watching.